Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly stock market show. And we have a ton to talk about this week with new dark pools coming in, as well as huge large prints coming in at the highs on Friday. And we have sector rotation continuing as well. We'll be looking through the economic data. And let's get started. So S&P 500, it closed 1.22% for the week. And you can see continued rotation between sectors. XLP, right, red. Healthcare was red. Real estate was red. You can see XLK, which is technology, up 3%, right? And that's why the Qs was ripping to new highs. And so as long as we continue to get rotations, market is not going to drop that much. What you want to see is all major sectors in the red. That's when you know market is leaving. Money is leaving the market. In terms of fear and greed index, we're starting to go greed now. You could expect us to be extreme greed at a price action like this, but we're not. So it can still extend a little bit further, my opinion, but we're getting close. In terms of AI and Nvidia, you can see we talked about this many weeks ago, saying the bears are still too bearish, essentially, and that's causing the market to continue to squeeze. So this is the first week that we've seen bulls flip to the bull side near all-time highs. So if we start getting these 40s coming in consistently in a week or two and into the high 40s, then that's likely going to mark a potential temporary top. But for now, we'll just keep an eye on that. In terms of dark pools, right, we got another one coming in, MEGS. This is pretty much MEG 7's ETF. We got pretty much the largest print there ever is, and near the highs on Wednesday. So these dark pools talked about last week, saying that it could overshoot. Doesn't mean just because a dark pool come in, right, that's going to be the sell, right? That's not going to be like, oh, that's top. So you can see over here on number 3 print, you overshoot it for a couple of days here, came back down, overshoot it again over here, right? Market made on the top here, and then we kind of just back test here a couple times, chop, and then rolled over, right? Obviously, this rollover was because of a catalyst, right? This wasn't like a healthy pullback or anything like that. This was exacerbated by a catalyst. Over here, we don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but if it's just going to be a healthy monthly consolidation, it'll probably just come down, near these highs and back test these highs. Nothing like a 20% drop. But that being said, we'll take it one step at a time. And another dark pool here, NVDA, which is NASDAQ, which is the QQQ, right? Another large print here for number 1. This wasn't a dark pool. This was more a big trade at the end of the day. And we have another one as well, number 1 print for Google, which is right. If I were to guess, it's probably a sell. I don't know anyone, especially large buyers, that's gonna go. It's gonna buy after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month up, right? So obviously Google can overshoot, maybe right. It doesn't mean this is gonna be the top, but we got a print like this coming in, and all these mags coming in as well, NASDAQ, right? It's probably gonna be we're probably gonna get some healthy consolidation pretty soon. Yeah, and a lot of people are asking, right, should I short this? Should I short that? In the past week, my answer is as long as you got a level, right, to play off of. If you have a tight stop loss and you have a clear level, to clear resistance to play off of, yeah, you can do anything you want. But if you're trying to short and then hold for a longer term position and just blindly add into the shorts, then it's going to be tough, right? As long as we're in an uptrend, things can grind a little bit higher than you expect. So hence why when everyone was bearish for the last 3 weeks, right, markets went up, and squeezed every short out, even this dip on Wednesday. That was like nothing, right? This is just a weekly bull flag, literally, right? Huge dip, literally got bought up in like 10 minutes, and then we V-shaped to new highs. So stop the short, especially when you're all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at economic data. So nothing too crazy next week, right? Powell speaking again on Tuesday. These data usually come in pretty in line with forecasts. If they come in, the only time these data would move drastically is when it does not come in with forecasts. Yeah, so we'll make sure to put these on the calendar. In terms of earnings, not really that much other than MU is a semiconductor company and Costco. That's it. That would pretty much give us a little bit more insight into the retails. And the rest is, unless you're in one of these, just take a screenshot. Let's get back into the charts. All right, so we'll be taking a look at Qs, SPY, and MX7s to give us more clues. If there's any weakness in MX7s, it'll show up in the Qs. All right, so no resistance, right? Obviously, all-time highs. We just hit the $600 mark. That's probably the only resistance I see. Just psychological resistance. That's it. Right. So if we're gonna top out here, what you want to see as a bear, you need multiple day drop like this, right? You need to give us some space to work with the lower high here. So the question is, when would I be interested in short? I'll be interested in short if we get a big enough drop, something like this, right? Let's see how many percent it's. Yeah, if you give me a 4% drop, I'll be looking for a lower high, right? On the bounce, if it's a weak bounce, not like this kind of V-shaped bounce. If it's a weak bounce, I would potentially try to get in for a lower high, something like this. This was already too strong of a bounce. It's over 50%. But if you're going to try here, it would have been on this day, Friday. So when we broke that Thursday's low on Friday, that would be your trigger point. You get in, and you set your stop loss above here. And then you see if this actually follow throughs to a lower low, which it didn't break the low. So it's still an uptrend. And then either you walk your stop down, and then you got stopped out here once it bounced above the prior day, or you got stopped out here. If you're like a longer term position trader, giving it more room, you got stopped out over there. So if the bears do show up, right, give me a big enough drop, then I'll be looking for that lower high, something like this over here on that next pullback. That would be the time, because it's really hard to nail tops, right? Let's say it was going up every day, and you're like, oh, I'm going to short here, I'm going to short here, I'm going to short here. Short. By the time you nail the top, you're already down quite a bit, right? Versus me waiting for this drop to happen. Okay, there's maybe a little bit bear here, then I short here, and then have a clear risk. So that's just one of the strategies I do. But if you guys want more strategies, book that 15-minute free call with me, or check out that Patreon link for one-on-ones. And let's continue looking at SPY. So SPY is similar idea, right? As long as Qs continue to make new all-time highs, right? Max 7s make new highs. SPY's not going to drop, especially when it continue to get rotation between sectors overall. We are getting close to resistance as well. So when everything's in an uptrend, right? You're asking who's buying up here, right? On Friday, you zoom into the charts. Wait, let's see here. So you're like, right? You see these huge moves. We've been up every single day, and then we got this tiny dip and then V shape. And then you're like, who's buying up here? And we got this another bounce here, right? 0.13. It's probably the algos, right? We're in positive gamma. Option flow is all in the bull side, right? And algos are just buying it. So that's why I can go out higher and higher. We're in an uptrend every single time frame, right? There is no every single time frame it's in an uptrend. As long as that continues, algos don't care if it's here. They, let's say we're back here. Like, who's buying here, right? Where this is extended, we're up every single day for like 2 months, and up again. Next thing you know, we're higher than over here. So you never know, right? As long as it's in positive gamma, algos are just going to keep on buying. That being said, when we're in negative gamma, right, it could exacerbate to the downside as well. So it goes both ways. But at the moment, we're not. So, and the trend is still intact as well. Yeah, it's a little bit more psychology today because price action is near all-time highs. There's no real resistance, to be honest. You could drop your fibs and all that kind of stuff, but as long as so we'll see if bears can give us any kind of action, price action showing up. All right, that being said, let's take a look at the Max 7s. There are some of them that they didn't make all-time highs, so there is some resistance for them. All right, so meta here is pretty much just like just this last little blip here, right? This triple top here that it can get over the last 3 days. 1, 2, 3. So we're pretty much just testing right there, the 790. Right? If Meta gets over this, right, that's another new all-time high. So nothing bearish here really. If this does pull back, so bears need to pretty much show up on Sunday night or overnight on Monday, then this could potentially become more of a sideways tightening range, right? Big move up, big move down, big move up, don't make new highs. This could potentially become more of a sideways tightening range. But bears need to defend exactly pretty much this Friday's highs, which they kind of did, right? Friday, Qs made new highs, right? Qs made new all-time highs, and Meta was red. So bears did defend. They did actually defend this area. So we'll see if they do get any follow through, right? Now bears play defense, so they're going to play offense here. If they do play offense, then we may get that tightening range, which is very likely because if Qs just pull back slightly, right? Let's just get a healthy consolidation or something, right? Maybe come back here, and Meta will probably form that tightening range as it's already weaker than the overall market. All right, Tesla weekly uptrend continuation. Every time it makes a higher low, talked about this one here. Very clear weekly uptrend. Every time is a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, and it just breakout. Nice breakout there. That being said, we are just underneath all-time high structure. So if Tesla does a reject here, the bear's only hope is a tightening range, right? Big move up, big move down, and then big move up again. So it hasn't exceeded the highs, so this could be potential tightening range in longer term, which it has done before. So we'll see if it ends up doing that again. This is a big tightening range. Big move up, big move down, it tightens up, and then broke out here. This was a monthly one, so it took a lot longer. May get something like that, so we'll see, especially when the broader market is also nearing its peak. Unless Tesla have some kind of super catalyst. I don't think it's going to go like that. You never know. So that being said, let's zoom in a little bit, see the resistance. So we are right underneath this 425, which is this structure, right? Low of the structure, prior support. Now acting as resistance over here. Now price is approaching from below, so it's also acting as resistance. So if we can get over this 420, 424, 425, then we're going to come back up to 450. And if we break 450, then we're going to test prior all-time high, 475. If we do reject here and roll over, probably going to come down to 379, 380 first on these supports. See if it acts as support. And bounce from there. If it goes a little below than that, then we're going to look at these pivots where we were prior resistance at 365 and 355. If it comes all the way back to 334, it's probably going to be a tiny range. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at Amazon. All right, so Amazon didn't make a new high either, while the Qs did. So there's a little bit of divergence between the Max 7s and Qs. Nothing like time to go on short, but you're seeing a little bit of divergence now. And all these guys don't make new highs, so all the Qs is, then it might be time for some kind of small pullback. So Amazon slightly weaker as well. Qs was up. Amazon is flat, and you can see bears are playing defense again. A lot of defense around these areas. And these 334s, which is pretty much just the all-time high structure. So what the bears need to do again is play offense, just like Meta. Need to break at least this 220. Right, multiple supports here. Can't even break below 220, which is like breaking down below at least a minimum A structure. And bears really not going anywhere. So for bears, crack that 220, which is going to be sitting right on this uptrending support line as well. right? Bounce, bounce, prior resistance, prior support, becoming resistance, 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 resistance. Become now support, support. So there's gonna actually support. If we can't break 220, I'll just say bulls are still in control, really. Yeah, just break 235 for bulls, and we'll probably head to new all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at Google. So no resistance here for Google. So Google, obviously the one that's helping Qs up, grind higher and higher. It also broke multiple supports. I wouldn't trade off of this line, but yeah, no resistance at all. Even on Friday, it was still relative strength. Qs is up like 0.6, and Google, you can see, is up 1%. Yeah, 0.68. So it's still going higher at the moment, and even if we zoom in, probably won't find any real resistance either. Yeah, it's literally just hitting all the highs, and is one 5-minute candle. That's it. You can play off of this, but yeah, it's tough. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, 0.45 risk if you really want to do it. I mean, it's up to yourself. But that being said, bears need to break this Wednesday's pivot for any kind of follow through to the downside, which is at 246. I wouldn't be surprised if this does start to consolidate. To be honest, we are due for consolidation on the weekly and the daily for sure. Even a healthy pullback back to 220 is still considered very healthy. Yeah. Even come back to 212, it's still a monthly bull flag. So we come all the way back down in October and then chop around like this, potentially like a monthly bull flag. And then let's say we have bullish catalyst, into the end of the year. Maybe we'll make another leg up. That. So definitely possible. And that will be a 17%, roughly a 16% pullback. And it will still be a monthly bull flag. Be a little bit cautious here. I wouldn't be adding long up here for like my long-term position hold, right? Obviously, you add into weakness, especially when you're in long-term positions. But I also wouldn't be blindly shorting up here, right? So some idea, right? With Google, that was such a big move, kind of like this with Microsoft, and it talked about this saying even if it's a monthly bull flag for Microsoft, it's a 14% pullback, right? Which we pullback so far only about like 11%, so very healthy pullback. Nothing too insignificant at the moment. Like I said, we are sitting right underneath resistance from Microsoft. Friday's high was pretty much low of this sideways action, right? Here's support, 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 support for like 2 weeks. Finally broke down, right? So we are back testing it pretty much there right at this moment. So bears need to show up pretty much right here. Otherwise, we're going to start cutting into the structure. Then if we start cutting into the structure, we're going to come back up to 526. But if we start to come back up, reject from here, then we're probably going to come back down to back test these highs, which is 507. All right, let's look at the Apple. So I broke out here, minute higher low every day. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. And new highs. Higher high, higher high, higher high. Looking like a little bit of a rising wedge. Let's take a look. Let's see if we can get one perfect one. Not really. Yeah, maybe like a broadening wedge kind of feel to it, but the resistance one's a lot more clear than the support, in my opinion. Bring this down a little bit. Actually looks a little bit nicer, right? Prior support, now resistance. Sorry, prior resistance, now support, support, support. I guess we're going to keep it for fun. See if it actually reacts to it when we do come back down again. But yeah, even if we don't have this line, we want to break this low, which is the 225 low, which is a prior higher low. So every time it makes a higher low, right, you want at least the bears to crack below a pivot. So that uptrend is kind of negated. So at the same time, I got to break this line too. So anyway, so we're sitting right at resistance here. Rejection, 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 which is this is right underneath all-time highs, right? Reject it here as well once, reject it here as well twice. Prior support, now acting as resistance. It's a very clear level. So we have two confluence of signals where this is going to be resistance. So let's see if, again, bears need to show up right on Monday for this to work out. A lot of tasks for bears to do this Monday for them to pull the market back down, but it's going to be a little tough for them, which they have not showed up in the past 5 months, 6, 5-ish, yeah. All right, so Nvidia just kind of flagging, pretty much monthly bull flag. This is what flagging looks like. It's kind of like slow grind down, right? We're not even close to this 146 yet. So as long as it's above the yellow box, this is a monthly bull flag. So we can go like this, like that forever. Next you know, end of the year comes, something like that. Obviously, it doesn't have to be like that. You could go like this and then roll over, right? We'll have to see what we'll take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. What I'm just saying is that even if it's a healthy bull flag, really strong pullback, it will still be like 16%. Just be a little bit cautious. Like I said, we are sitting around underneath the resistance as well, right? From this all-time high sort of little mini structure that they built over for like 2 weeks. Underneath 178. So bears might be to show up right away as well, right? If this makes one more leg up, it's going to be testing 183. Next thing you know, it's going to be new all-time highs. If that happens, QS is not going to fall, right? Nvidia decides to this be like a weekly bull flag, and it hits the weekly EMA 12, and then it goes to new all-time highs, then QS is not going to pull back much. Let's say Meta and Amazon, the weaker ones, pull back. Nvidia makes another 10% up. QS is probably just going to go like blip, chop a little bit sideways, and go like that. So as long as they continue to get intra rotation between these mix 7s and sectors, it's not gonna tank or anything. What you want to see is, right, Nvidia down 5%, Google, Amazon, all these guys down all at the same time, all 7. Then you'll get one of those big drop days, like 3-4%. But I haven't had that in 5 months. So last time we had it was probably down here. Yeah. It's kind of like an ugly looking resistance, but it does have a lot of points on it. Reject, 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 reject. So we'll just keep it there for now. Usually you get like a falling wedge. Kind of look into a monthly bull flag on the daily for the falling wedge, but we don't have a falling wedge at the moment. Falling wedge will look more like this. Kind of like maybe it'll shape up into something like this. Let's see. No, not really. We don't have a falling wedge, but it's looking a little bit more like a channel at the moment. This could kind of work. Like I'm following a wedge like this. Yeah. On wedge is a bullish pattern because it's big move up and it's just monthly flat bull flagging. Once it breaks out, it was something like that. So this will just keep it right. 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. 5 actually. Another one here. Now. That was the last one. All right, that's all for you guys. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. Guys, learn anything and support the channel. And this just doesn't cost you anything for a like, and it was greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys tomorrow for more commodities update. If you guys trade commodities, and have a great rest of you guys weekend. And check out the Patreon link if you guys want your chart to be analyzed or book that one-on-one with me. Have a great rest of you guys weekend.